Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. And today we are talking about small business owners, how to weather Trump economy. Yes, election is over. We're all here. And Trump promises to bring changes. And very deep changes to economy that is already here today. So good, bad, or ugly, let's talk about it. And the knowledge you have on what is going to happen would help you to weather the storms. And hopefully these are temporary storms going over, and you become stronger, and you become one of those mega economy, mega business, right? So we want small business owners to eventually and grow your business to a place where you can call yourself mega. And not the same as mega Republican, but mega in the way you have become billionaires, millionaires, you become strong financially. All right, let's look at our website, folks. And you see, this is our website. You can always contact us and having an appointment with me by clicking the appointment button. You can join our firm without talking to us. Go onto this button, on board with us. And you support our firm when you paying our bills, and you enjoy our firm when you log into these portals, because life can get so easy with Community CPA. And we also have a YouTube channel, folks. You want to subscribe because we do talk about things very real to you. It's not an entertainment site. I'm not good at making jokes, but I am really good at understanding what is up for you next. And so come over here, learn, grow stronger. Now, let's go back to the presentation I prepared for you. I have to say that I can't imagine if there's no internet. So internet gives us so much information, right? So I scour internet for this information, trying to understand what is going on. Then, of course, opinion is always divided, so deeply divided. Even for one item, you have people cheering about it. You also have people crying about it. But in business, we say there is no parties, no sides. Business is so simple. The end result is to make money. That's all we need, right? Small business owners, how to weather the Trump economy. Before we talk about our firm, I organized our firm information in an interesting way for you. So you see, I have 12,000, we're number people, right? So 12,000, that is number of clients that we serve. And 40 is the number of professional staff we have in Community CPA. 27 is the number of years Community CPA served the public. And 10 is the number of language our professional folks speaking collectively. And 6, the number of partners we have in our firm. 5 is the number of office locations we have in 3 different states. Number 3 is the years that I served on National Taxpayer Advocacy Panel, which is the Federal Advisory Committee, to provide advices to IRS. Number 2, number of books that written by me and published, right? I hope that number goes up to 4 because that's the plan. Number 1, the last, the goal we have in our firm is 1, to serve small businesses with our heart and soul, okay? And our knowledge, not just in our brain, is in our heart. So we use the knowledge in a very compassionate way to help our small businesses. Here, this is the 2 books that you will find on the internet, and I encourage you to grab my book. And in this book, I talk about how to start a business, how to grow your business. The 3rd book come onto the internet. Sometimes when I finish, it will be expanding the business because I'm in the middle of doing that for Community CPA. So I can't call the end of the book yet, it will, my thought is when Houston, Texas becoming strong branch, that is when I can brag about my expansion plus all my other clients' expansion, bring you a nice book so you can read. For that reason, please recommend Houston, Texas clients to us. If you ever know someone there, and tell them how good we are and have them to be our client. No responsibility disclaimer is definitely for the content we provide, just because that is our understanding. That is what we know. Even though I scour internet trying to be perfect, but internet is not perfect. I could be going onto the site that is not expressing the right opinion, but that is really where my knowledge come from. Remember when we talk about taxes and the chart, the forms, I go onto irs.gov, but irs.gov not going to give me any of these information right now. These are the information is really based on the publication that Trump administration put out, like Project 2025, and also the promises that he made in the campaign trails. And, there's a lot of people telling people that, oh, don't take it seriously. He's not going to do that. He doesn't mean that. I do not buy in that type of comments. As a nation's leader, and every word, every alphabet he spelled out is real. So that's what I am doing here. I'm giving you what he said and what kind of things as a small business owners you need to know. All right. Economic promise on the Project 2025, also the promise that he made on the campaign trail and when he's doing the election advertising, right? So there's 20 of them, and we go through each one of these. And at the after we go through the 20, I also have a few slides. I kind of summarized it a little differently to give you a reason why is why, how they do it. So that gave, of course, my reason is not about his upbringing and his records. My reasoning is more economical. I want to, in my own mind, I'm trying to balance the budget for Trump, right? Because that's what he's trying to cut. And you cut here, you need to increase there. So this budget need to be balanced. Right now, each one of us, as long as you are a U.S. citizen, do you know that you owe $104,000 national debt? It is your share. And don't die yet, pay it first before you die, okay? All right, number one, add tariff on 10 to 20% to all non-domestic goods sold in U.S. So what does that mean? This is to say that whoever is foreign country to us, okay, and you would pay 10 to 20% of tariff tax. So how did that get administrated? It is at the custom. When the the goods come in, and there will be a tax add to it. So for the business people here in U.S., when we try to retrieve that good to our warehouse, and you pay that tax first. So that tax is actually a federal tax, right? So it is increased federal income. That's why there's people saying that, oh, tariff tax is a national sales tax. It's a very good summary, a very good name for it, because it is a national sales tax. And you understand sales tax, right? In your state, you pay sales tax when you buy things. So sales tax nature is what? It's consumer-based. It doesn't matter you make $1 billion or you make $5 in your household. You want to eat, you're going to pay sales tax. Of course, sales tax in a lot of ways is exempted from the food, right? We know we go buy food, there's no sales tax. Sales tax is more on clothing or things, right? But that's on the state. But this tariff tax has no difference. It's like everything, and as long as there's a thing coming into the country, 10 to 20%. And the 60%, number two, add 60% tariff tax on goods from China. What does that do is to cut China off from being able to sell anything to United States of America. Of course, it doesn't cut China from selling goods to other nations, right? Just for United States, don't come. We don't want any Chinese food, Chinese things. So if the Chinese goods you use right now, and I want you to go to your house and just notice everything you bought in your house. If it says made in China and recall how much that cost you, add 60% to it. That is the retail price going to be to you. And that is what we call tariff tax. It's a sales tax, nationwide, consumer-based. It's you, me, and everybody else, whether you make a penny or you make a billion. And institute a reciprocal tariff policy, that's number 3. And this one means that if the other country has tariff tax on U.S., like when U.S. goods goes in, they tax the U.S. goods, and then the U.S. will absolutely do the same. And I always, of course I'm not expert in everything, but I do believe there is a reciprocal agreement for tariff. And when you tax something, we tax something. It's almost like when you ban somebody's some country's citizen's visa, then the other country will ban your citizen's visa as well. This is just a reciprocal between nations. The world is trying to balance their dignity and their pride, right? So no nations want to bag on someone else. Otherwise, they become part of the other nation, right? So this independent group has said if this is going through and every household is facing $2,000 to $4,000 a year additional cost on basic living. So this is huge. And folks, and we want to explain this to you so you don't kidding yourself thinking that, oh yeah, our president don't keep his word. No, I believe he will, and this will become true. And make sure that you interpreting that into your business behaviors. Adopt 4 years plan to phase out Chinese imports. So this is number 4. Again, it's related to China, related to Chinese, and this is clear direction that trying to control the growth of China. And obviously, if you have been to China and you witness the growth, and China had been closed door and would not grow in the 60s, 70s, then they switched gears, opened the door, and did this, what I call the capitalization of the whole nation for 20 years. So for that reason, they kind of skipped a lot of steps in the industrial or advanced technology. They stepped into more advanced technology faster than the nations like United States of America, like us here, and we are still really enjoying the technology, not so outdated, but yet outdated, and it just kind of gripped, this technology gripping us to not going further. But in China, they didn't have that grip because they closed the door for 30 years, and then suddenly they open the door, they see the world is already 30 years ahead of them, so they skipped that growth. They went directly into more advanced. So China is growing. China is powerful. And this is where the policies of United States of America trying to balance that, trying to control it. So saying don't import anything from China so they don't grow. They lose that kind of consumer market. But remember, this is the world. This is global economy. How effective that is, I do not know. And obviously, China has the whole Africa as their market. And China has other nations as their market. And the United States of America is not the only one. I do not know whether that hurts United States more or hurts China more. So this is where I'm giving you my 2 cents. And ban U.S. company from investing in Chinese companies and ban Chinese companies from investing in U.S. companies. Again, this is a closed-door policy, reminded me so much about Cultural Revolution, the history that China gone through in the 60s. It is almost come from the same playbook. You ban everything and you don't want people to know anything else outside of China or outside of the United States now. So this is what we are doing exactly. Ban everything and disconnect the country and just let someone grow on their own. And for us here in the United States, I'm not sure that is helping or that is actually pulling ourselves back. And I don't think Elon Musk alone gonna make U.S. the most advanced country in the world. I do not believe so. Even though, in our household we drive Tesla cars, but that doesn't mean that he knows everything else about technology than electronic cars. Providing a big tax cut, which wealthier taxpayer gain more. And this is what Trump's first term, and he reversed the corporate taxes from somewhere 30% down to 15%. And know that those kind of tax cuts, of course, small business benefits, but the most beneficial ones are the 1% wealthy individuals and billionaires who makes money in their big business. I call them mega company, right? So, and taxation on Social Security. That sounds good. Social Security is the retirement payment to our seniors, right? People after 61.5. And they get the money, and from the money they pay taxes for. So when they get the money, and obviously it's a better policy is, you don't pay taxes. But really, how much does that mean to lose the revenue? I do not know, and I'm not in the budget team to figure that out. But the taxation and on Social Security is huge amount because baby boomers are huge population. That sounds like a lot of burden for federal government budget, but it is a nice one. I know it is nice for my neighbor, and I know it is nice for a lot of clients that we are charging them on Social Security, making them pay taxes, right? So, and taxation on tips, that is something, and also and taxation on overtime. You can tell they're kind of like on the hourly wages, on the restaurant workers, right? So these are good ones, but the taxation on tips is not just income tax. It is also Social Security, Medicare. And taxation on tips also means that if we don't pay Social Security, Medicare on tips, then you don't get that pension you're supposed to get when you retire, because your pension amount is not going to be there. And a lot of restaurant workers are so much on the tips, and they make a much better total with the tips. So that is the basis for you to get your Social Security benefit. Now what? You don't have that anymore? So I'm not really sure this is the short-term gain for individuals at this level, or it is long-term loss for these people at this level. And of course, over time, same thing. Over time is not just about income taxes, it's also about Social Security and Medicare. So do you want to cut away that benefit from you getting retired and a bigger Social Security check? And that check is also not taxable? What do you want? I mean, I felt these are good proposals for right now. It is such a good slogan in the campaign trail, and it is like, I don't charge tips, I don't charge overtime. And sure, don't charge anything, but we need to figure out where that money comes from, right? So this is the promise that Trump has. So we'll see how that comes through. And reduce taxation on American living overseas from $126,500. What that dollar amount is that if you got sent by your employer to overseas to work, and they still run your W-2 here, so you actually can get exemption for that much of a W-2 payment from income tax, quite a bit saving. The tax form related to that is Form 2555. And, so Trump is saying that to increase that so you can get more non-taxable income. But you also remember that he is wanting to ban the U.S. company going to invest in Chinese company. Chinese company cannot invest in U.S. company. So the folks that was deployed to China and was U.S. citizen working in China and getting paid, getting this exemption, these people will soon be coming back to the country. So, and a lot of them are that way. So a lot of those who are overseas are in China. So you can see there is a movement coming in, right, as a result of that. So my next page is the other 10. 11. Reduce corporation tax rate from 21%. Remember this corporation tax rate, it was like 35%. Then after Trump became president back in 2016, dropped to 15%. And then Biden come on board and made it 21% is becoming the law. So what Trump wants to do is to make sure that he reduce this back into 15 and make it a act, make it a law. So that way there's no change anymore. And put a temporary, number 12, put a temporary cap on credit card interest rate. That I can see all benefit. I don't see much of disadvantage. Oh, of course, the banks, the institutions will suffer some profit margin, but that credit card interest rate can cripple small business people. We see that a lot, right? And of course, people spending. You can also argue that why do they even spend if they don't know they can pay for it? There are also situations where people have to spend to make a living. If you raise tariff tax by that much, and everybody is paying, they're buying a bag of rice. It used to be $20. Now it's suddenly $26. Then they probably do have to use the $6 on credit card. Then that $6 would be capped on the interest rate. That sounds a little more delicious than owing on the 24% of interest rate. So he has that promise, folks. Let's just wait and see. And cut car insurance rate by 50%. Car insurance depends on how you bought the car, how your driving record, right, is. So I can see that possible coupled with his mass deportation, right? If he does mass deportation, you know how many cars will be less on the street? A lot less. And when those cars are not on the street, and the accident will also proportionally reduce, the more humans you have, the more accident you're going to have. So to reduce the rate by 50%, maybe the insurance company can do it, but that is what his goal is. So I'm just thinking about the car insurance that I pay, and $1,400 a year. So $700, I like that. Okay, business people like that, and we can reduce our car insurance. Make interest on car loan tax deductible. This is only pertaining to the individuals who bought the car but with no businesses, right? If business people bought a car, you already bought the car for your business use, and then with a standard mileage deduction, you would cover your loan, right? And if it is business car, you already deduct the interest out of your business expense, correct? So that is something for small business owners. I hope you already take care of that, and you're not sitting there waiting for President Trump to relieve your pressures here, okay? And then make it tax deductible to purchase a home generator. And this is coming in for Elon Musk's little box house, right? You imagine those little unit has its own home generator, so electricity is resolved, and the things can be more independent. And this is the campaign promise. So looks like there's more development on what Elon Musk envisions. So he really represents the technology for Trump at this time. And restore the state and local tax deduction. This is Schedule A. If you recall, the Schedule A, the second section of it is related to local state taxes, and we used to be able to put the state taxes we paid of last year in there, and so that way, actually this year, the current year in there, so to get a deduction for part of the itemized deduction. Like I remember when this one just came out, the residents in the income tax state like Iowa, Minnesota, people are losing a lot of itemized deduction because they limited that into 10,000. So now Trump came back and wanting to reverse what he did in 2018. So let him do that. It's good for the income tax state residents. Stop China from buying land in U.S. So I want folks to understand, stop China from buying land in U.S. is not equals to stop American Chinese American to buy land in U.S. Just don't get confused, right? So it says that, here it says that the Chinese government are coming to buy land in U.S. and or the people representing Chinese government buying land in U.S. And if you are U.S. citizen and you are not in this category, and in Iowa, there's even state law to prevent Chinese foreigners to buy land in the state. So I don't think it is new. It is just never nationalized. A lot of states already have that to prevent foreigners buying farmland or buying land in the local area. Create freedom cities. This is something that interesting. I see Elon Musk's tattoo everywhere on this particular proposal. So it is basically the federal government will carve out a federal land, not those national parks and stuff, but some land to develop a city. It's like in the video games where you have these cities of your own, and it is fascinating. I do not know how that would roll out, and I am pretty sure, Elon Musk come from the video game history. Even his Cybertruck look like those outdated little cartoon or little video creatures on the old 80s electronic video games. So hopefully this Freedom Cities is going to roll out, and obviously will create jobs, will bring people coming in and creating jobs, and mega companies can take that over, build it, and the city could even be privatized. Who knows? So it's interesting to watch, and I have no idea how to relate that to small business owners. Create baby bonus for young parents, right? That's what I think that's the campaign trail promise that's related to Harris's additional child tax credit, $6,000 child tax credit for the newborns. So that is kind of coordinating with each other on that one. And oppose corporate bailout. I absolutely agree with this one. And back in 2008, when the bank failed, the government bought some of those banks. They should fail, but they didn't. And then the one who accidentally didn't get bailed out, and all the people lose money, and including myself. I mean, I lose money, and in 2000 back then, and for those banks were not bailed out. But there are bailed out banks, and the federal government really should not come out to buy out failed business for reasons. And if the reason is that would impact the whole economy, the whole citizens of the country, and I think the buyout cannot be just hand over money, printing more cash, right? It needs to be strategically placed out, just like placing a receivership for a company that in court, in bankruptcy proceeding. So those are the processes President Trump are very familiar with. So he knew what to do to not do this bailout without condition. He understands Chapter 11 inside out. All right, so tax cut and the incentive. The rest of the slides, I'm trying to group them into a understanding for you. So let's talk about tax cut incentives. And the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, they are all tax cuts, right? So Trump promised to make the Job Act permanent, keeping the current lowered individual tax rate. Current lowered one is 37.5. We can go back up to 39.5, but he is keeping it lowered. See, those rate, people who are small business owners, majority of my clients don't reach to the 39.5%. But a lot of those supporters and the Trump supporters, the mega businessmen and women, they are the one who will benefit the most with this kind of cut. And maintaining increased standard deduction, so not lower that one, stay the same. On the tax side, ending Social Security tips over time, and we talked about it. It is an incentive for people in the short time, in the short run. I'm not sure that is a sustainable act at the individual level. I'm not talking about the government, because Trump administration can raise tariff tax even more to get the money they needed. But I am talking about as an individual. You didn't pay taxes, you didn't do Social Security, your employer don't match Social Security for you, for your overtime, for your tips. What does that do to you? You have less Social Security when you retire. Is your whole life just working, or you think you have another 30 years to retire? And you work 30 years, you retire 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. Don't kidding me that you're just going to think of working and not think about retirement, right? Very serious issue to consider. And then the tax cut also include, in 2017, the Tax Cut Job Act lowered the corporation tax rate, right? Provided this 20% of deduction for small business pass through. And this 20%, you are still using it in 2024. And I hope that this one is actually a pretty good one. It did help the pass-through entities. Of course, anything we talk about on the rate is benefiting the mega more and benefiting small business trickling down. But trickling down is okay, and we just want to know what's coming. Even if it is water drops, we want to hold it and implement it, right? So it is fine, and the worry is that right now we owe $104,000. Don't die, because you need to pay for that. And I'm just not sure that how you can get out of that, and with the tariff tax increase. So of course, do tax cut. What goes down, something need to go up, right? So increase taxes. How do we increase taxes? So in Trump's proposal, Project 2025 is talk about tariff taxes. We already talked about that. And then is also adopting this plan to phase out Chinese imports. So what's going to happen is our manufacturer, for example, I don't have any connection to John Deere, but I'm going to use that John Deere as an example, because I knew a little bit here and there from the clients. So John Deere is American manufacturer, and parts of John Deere can come from domestic production, but also come from overseas. So come from China. And these kind of phase out just means that John Deere get an order, and you cannot buy anything from China anymore. And this is the federal direction for you, and to do something. So John Deere will go around looking for places to buy the same thing that the Chinese company was giving them, was sending to them. And the price, the quality, the experience is all going to come into play. So maybe end up increasing the price for the product, because that's how would it cost John Deere. So those are the things will raise taxes, will raise the price that the consumer will get. And the federal government got more taxes, and the business get less profit margin. And if you are such a business so strong, people need you anyway, maybe you don't suffer profit margin, then you push that out to the consumer, the inflation will come. So with that said, so this is where the tax, we have tax cut, but we need to increase something. So the trade policy and tariffs. And the Trumps intend to increase this, right? Especially on the Chinese-related product. And small businesses that importing materials, goods, will face higher prices as tariff taxes will take place when goods are coming in from overseas. So this higher price could be passed on to the consumer and leading to reduced profit margin, supply chain disruption. You're just not going to get something for a while until the domestic production to come out, right? Inflation all over, guaranteed, right? So however, because of the tariff, could make foreign products more expensive, so that would encourage U.S. manufacturer to step up, to receive more order, and to benefit from this switch, right? So, really look at the manufacturers. And I was actually one of the state has a lot of manufacturing factories, and surprised, right? You think Iowa just pigs and corns? No, Iowa back in the late 90s was a second in place in terms of manufacturing in the country, number of manufacturers. So that would benefit those manufacturers. But again, those manufacturers in U.S. are facing generation change. So a lot of them are baby boomers company, and they're selling, they're buying, they're diminishing. So hopefully that will re-energize the chain, and then the second generation can come in to take over that. This could also create more opportunity for small business to be a stronger part of domestic supply chain. So if you are in the business importing for some big boys, and you know the product, you know what you're importing, maybe think of to create that factory here in U.S. and do it yourself. You still have the client, and you still can make money, and probably more. Well, no, I'm not sure, more or less, but you still make money, right? And depends on how much the cost. I always remember that in business, I always think two things in business: profit margin and cost of labor. With some industry, of course not CPA firms, law firms, and those doesn't really get affected. But construction company would get affected by massive deportation. And I don't have to tell you why, you know why. And the construction company is probably one will suffer the most because the materials, a lot of those are imported goods. So they face tariff increase. And then the laborers, they face shortage of laborers. Think about that. All of my construction small business owners. To make sure the government still can run, the salary of the presidents can still be paid out, we need to cut something, right? And we increase tariff, we cut something to save money. We cut federal programs. That's in Project 2025. So they will eliminate Small Business Administration direct lending programs, which that direct lending programs supports small business during natural disaster EIDL loan. Cutting SBA initiative for innovation and entrepreneurial development. That is a program I bet dollars on this. Elon Musk enjoyed that one. And defund Minority Business Development Agency, which assists minority-owned small business. Okay? Eliminate programs that support workforce training, export assistance, and capital access. Guess what? There are a lot of things in place right now. It is coming from this program, cutting that off. And export assistance, that's a big deal. That means what? It is our product going to overseas. And right now, companies are relying on those assistance to be able to have a letter of credit. And those programs are going away, eliminating. For rural small businesses, the plan would end essential air service program, impacting access to vital commercial services in underserved areas. Serious stuff, huge savings, obviously. So that would fund. But one thing I want to bring out, because Trump support for veteran-owned small businesses. And this is something he did in 2019. And during his campaign time, Trump also cited initiatives offered through SBA office for veterans business development. So it's not a all cut, right? A cut for minority, for certain things, and veterans, and he promised to keep. And I want to bring this out because I want us to understand, even though he didn't like wounded veterans to be in a public occasion because it doesn't look good, and he had said things that really hardens the heart of veterans. But he is doing business stuff for veterans. So why not take advantage of that, right? So this is coming. And this is the public expected Trump to support this. So we will wait and see. Regulatory rollback. And this is a big deal. This is like a tattoo of Trump. That's just Trump's tattoo, to roll back regulatory. Trump has historically supported deregulation. Okay, so business owners can expect this coming in. And the small business may benefit from reduced regulatory cost and oversight. But remember, some of those regulatory and oversight for small businesses are not really at the federal level, it's at the state level. So if Trump roll back on the regulatory requirement, that doesn't equal your state government gonna do that too, right? So don't be too optimistic. But one thing I want to say is small business will also suffer at the same time with less protection in many sectors because of the rollback of regulatory requirement. Regulatory rollback, in my opinion, is an incentive for mega businesses. Generally speaking, is a hindrance for small business to become mega. So when you want to become one of the mega, and that hindrance is much greater because your existing mega business has all of these advantages with regulatory rollback, and you do not have. So that is a double-edged sword on regulatory rollback for small business owners, and you may enjoy something, but for in the long view, and looking at you, small business, to become a mega business one day, you will have hurdles for not a even play field, basically. Immigration and labor. There's so much information related to immigration. More on the immigration policy side, I don't even want to spend time to dabble into it. But I want to say that it's safe to assume Trump administration will once again tighten immigration policies, right? Which could affect small business that relies on immigrant labor, such as agriculture, construction, hospitality industry, right? Mass deportation will reduce labors in certain industry drastically. Shortage of labor, big time. And a high price of material, big time. And we can see the fall of construction company already today. So if you own a construction company, ladies and gentlemen, and think hard how to weather the Trump economy. Small businesses who run construction projects right now, focus on getting materials, please. Purchase them if you have cash, and don't buy them later, buy them now. and a budget for higher cost on the labor when you give project out to a new bid, knowing that the labor cost won't be the same, material cost won't be the same. Make your contract a little bit more flexible, and say something like, if, then price will, right? Do something flexible. What about healthcare? Healthcare is a big deal for small business as well. And I have to say that I never really had a total satisfaction for Obamacare because I knew myself when the Obamacare came in, and I provide healthcare to staff, and we cover 80% in the company, 20% are paid by our staff, right? I cannot tell you how stressed I was with Obamacare because my cost as an employer and my cost was literally doubled. That by that time my business was smaller. So the number I had was before Obamacare, I was paying about maybe $12,000 on the medical expense, but Obamacare came, it become 28, 30,000. Then with growth of the employee, of course, I'm paying over 100,000. But I'm just saying that healthcare really didn't really work for our small businesses. And I have employee who was giving birth to a child. It was costing him so much with so expensive Medicare policy I have, medical insurance policy I have for him. And he literally was in debt for having a child. So, even thinking of having the child outside of U.S. because can't afford of the medical expense. So really, I'm not expert in the healthcare, and I know Obamacare, one good thing is it covers existing condition. You cannot tell my employee that who come to work for me with a diabetic situation, then our insurance doesn't cover. No, it cannot be. But of course, being small, you know that if we have a very sick employee in my company, I literally have a hard time to find a policy next year. That's the Obamacare right now. So Trump plans to terminate Obamacare. And I don't know he has a plan for anything else. Small business will be affected. The healthcare plan can become too expensive to have, even more expensive than now, right? One thing for sure is that the business owner can expect change in healthcare overall. And this is really, I think it is a very difficult task for the government. And maybe you think of, oh yeah, Ying, you know about a Canadian one. So is that better? No, it's not better. And let me tell you why it's not better. In Canada, if you go to emergency room, and you can stay there for 24 hours, nobody even have time for you. Because everything is free, nobody cares about nothing. So even when they got a little finger cut, they go to emergency. So the healthcare was so inefficient. When there is an urgent surgery of someone, they come to U.S. to pay U.S. dollar to get a surgery. I'm not saying that to you because I imagine it. I literally have a friend who actually have a tumor in her uterus and waiting for surgery for 2 years in Canada, then lost her reproduction organ completely. But if she goes to U.S. to do that surgery, in day one, she would still be able to have baby. This is my friend in Canada. So no, it's a hard job for anyone. It was hard for President Obama, and it is going to be hard for Trump. But President Obama's policy was meant to bring everyone from bottom up to have medical care. It is dignity, it is a human right. And we don't want a policy to come from top down. If you have money, you have the best policy. If you don't have money, you can die from cancer. There's no treatment. I think our country is wealthy enough that we should do both. We can do both, right? And we can save small business owners like myself from paying so much medical insurance that I really have to watch and what kind of policy we have. I literally had 1 year and I couldn't find a policy, and because one of my employees was very sick and was doing $15,000 a week shot necessary, but it made our whole team have trouble to find affordable care. With that said, and to save federal spending, of course, Trump administration could reduce the benefit, potentially increase healthcare costs for small businesses, right? And the Trump plan to cut subsidized dollars to medical side of things, and a plan to expand options for health saving account. Remember that health saving account is a pre-tax, you don't pay taxes. You put that in there, and you can put in $6,000 a year, and then when you're sick, you use that dollars. But right now, that plan only made available to companies like in Community CPA. We don't even have that. We're not qualified because our medical insurance policy was called low deductible policy. Like we had too good of a policy for employees, so we are not qualified for HSA account. But if the employer offers a very thin premium policy, health insurance policy, pay lesser of the premium, and then they would open up this account for employee so they could enjoy that on their own to put in money to pay for medical expense. So, I know it is a lot of controversial information I am giving you here. One thing I say good, next thing I say bad, and I'm happy, I'm mad, all at the same time, right? I'm human, and I, of course, do look at everything from my lens. I have this special lens for small businesses, and I see everything for you. And I don't have relationship with people like Elon Musk other than paying him money to buy a car. And now I'm worried about one day he's going to stop the satellite, then my car will be run into the ditch. That's very possible, right? And we're talking about controls here, dictatorship here. So don't want that to happen. And I'm not buying Tesla cars anymore. That's it. With that said, I want to say that, folks, in life, we go through times which may not be most convenient for you. But that is so normal, right? And the Chinese people were in Cultural Revolution for a very good 30 years. It is not convenient for them. But life can still filled with love and enjoyment. And I cannot tell you that I was born in China, so my childhood, even though I don't understand a lot of things, but I understand the effect of the Cultural Revolution. We were very poor. We were eating, in the winter, there's only 2 vegetables you have, potatoes and the green cabbage. That's all the vegetable we have the whole winter. And in the place I live in China, in Beijing, the winter time lasts for about 7 months. So with that said, and that's all I see, and we eat that. And I knew it is not very pleasant, and I hate cabbages for the rest of my life. But I couldn't tell you that I was suffering. I was pretty happy. Sometimes the vegetables were raw. Sometimes my mom will cook it in different ways. So I enjoyed it, right? So I'm saying this to you is to say life is not about what the White House is doing. And yes, it affects everyone, and it brings the direction of the economy into a certain way. But that's not even totally bad. And the United States of America is great because we have this two-party system. So when things are going too extreme on one end, someone comes in to correct it. So is all of these policies I cited for you are totally dumb? No, I don't think so. And I think those policies are corrections on things that was overly done. But again, when you go through these changes, these policy changes, the direction changes, there will be a group of people thinking differently than the other group of people. But what I want to say that as accountant, as a tax person, a tax strategist. And my job is not to tell you to love which president or to not like which president. My job is to tell you just me, and also to tell you that what can we do in this economy to do better. And we can all do better. Community CPA can do better because you needed us more, right? And you can do better because you see the future, you know where to move to. And you love this country, you want to grow generations in the country, and you want your generation, next generation, to prosper from what has been corrected right now and going further. Obviously, Trump's term is 4 years, unless Constitution being amended by Trump administration. And I don't see that in the Project 2025, so hopefully that's not part of it. Then we run election, we continue to run this two-party system, correct each other, and making this country go to a level which no other country can be, because we are so perfect. We are so good. And we are on such a blessed ground. So let's say, God bless America, and you, me, and others, we work on working our business, making money, and understand the policies, and we roll forward. Even something else rolling backwards. All right, so that's today, folks. And just to remind you to make a appointment with us. We have this website appointment button. You can see all of our partners here. And this is a tax planning season, folks. So if you want to, especially for 2025, you need to come for tax planning. But this year already, we are doing a lot of planning for folks. We know the future. We can predict tax future a lot better than financial planner predicting interest rate for the next 20 years, right? So come over for tax planning service and subscribe to our channel. Know what we say, learn what we have, and then do better at your business. Remember, we grow together, and this is a great place to grow business, and it still is, will forever be. Talk to you.